So what are your top brain foods?
Oh, my top brain foods would be omega-3 fatty
Yep.
acids, definitely, which is nuts, seeds, fish. Then I want magnesium in there. So that's lots of dark green leafy veg. And once you get the dark green leafy veg in, there are so many important nutrients in there as well. And then I would say making sure you've got enough protein, actually.
This podcast is called Reconditioned because this is the place where you'll learn how to truly recondition your entire life. Where other wellness podcasts or platforms focus on one particular area of wellness or inner growth, Reconditioned is a one-stop shop for all of it, so that you can get all the information you need to heal and up-level the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual aspects of your life in one place. Because that's what I needed when I was healing from the arthritis I had from the age of 2 that left me disabled by 18. I got myself to a place of complete wellness after a very long journey of immersion into the world of healing, where I learned how to heal the whole self. My purpose now is about bringing that to you, and my Rise membership is an extension of that. For women who want to take their wellness and growth to the next level, there really is nothing out there like it. You'll be part of a global community of like-minded women with access to 14 modules that literally take you through everything you ever need to learn in order to bring your life to a place of balance and abundance. With group coaching calls with me, personalized support, community book club, and so much more. Rise becomes part of your life, your lifestyle, enabling you to thrive in the ways you always dreamed, with me right there beside you, championing you through your journey. It's not always open for enrollment, so if you're hearing this now, it's open and ready for you to enroll. Just go to the show notes for the link or visit laurenvakneen.co.uk/rise. Hi everyone, welcome back to Reconditioned with me, Lauren Vakneen. You'll have to excuse my very croaky voice. I'm just recovering from a little virus and I lost my voice there for a few days. Interestingly, I did a talk on Sunday at Mind Body Spirit Festival and I lost my voice right after. So that was lucky, I suppose, that it happened after. So today's episode is really interesting. Sarah Carolides, she is a very well-known UK nutritionist, works with top A-list celebs on their nutrition. And she also works now with Zooki, the supplement company, you might have heard of them. And it was a really interesting conversation around the gut, basically, and the gut feeding the skin, the gut feeding the brain, the gut feeding the gut, and how it affects the rest of our body. And we really did speak about kind of the skin problems we're facing and why, and the gut problems we're facing. We spoke specifically about SIBO, gut dysbiosis, and candida, and specific protocols around that, specific ways to tackle that, where to start. And then we got into the skin and kind of how why our skin is so affected these days and what we can do about it through the gut. And we spoke about brain health and how the gut affects the brain, how it affects our mood, how it affects our brain health, our concentration, all that kind of stuff. What we didn't touch on was kind of neurological challenges like OCD, ADHD. But I think that from my personal opinion, I know that the gut impacts that hugely as well. So really interesting conversation. What I love about what I do is that I get to speak to all different people with all different, ideas and opinions and research that they've done that proves one thing and someone else will feel something else. And what Sarah talks about is quite different to a lot of the stuff that I do, or for instance, the work of Morley Robbins, that we speak about in terms of liposomal vitamins, which is what Zooki is. It's a liposomal vitamin company. So that conversation was really interesting. And as always, use your own discernment when it comes to supplements, when it comes to diet even. I think we are such powerful beings. We have so much wisdom and intelligence within us. And we don't have to be searching and seeking and listening to one thing, listening to another thing, and then going, oh, everyone's saying something else, I don't know what to do. Listen to all of those things, inform yourself, and then come back to, well, what feels most right for me? What sits right when I think about this? What feels like it's intuitively right for my body? And also balance, right? Everything's about balance. So it was a really interesting episode, and I really hope that you enjoy it, and let me know how you feel about it. And as usual, anything we speak about, anything we recommend will be linked in the show notes for you so that you can grab hold of any of those products that we spoke about, and I'll pop Sarah's details there too. As usual, thank you for being here. I appreciate you. Sarah Carolides is one of the UK's top functional medicine and nutrition specialists, with over 20 years' experience, and is a member of the Royal Society of Medicine. Working with doctors and consultants, her secret weapon is a whole-body approach that embraces everything from food, hydration, and sleep to exercise, stress, and even organization. Her most recent published research papers examine the links between skin health and the gut. As well as supporting the health of her A-list international clients, Sarah writes regularly for several magazines, appears on TV regularly, and was listed by Vanity Fair as one of the A-list people to know in London in June 2021. Sarah is also head of nutrition at Zooki. So welcome, Sarah.
Thank you, Lauren. Gosh, it sounds so strange when you hear that read out, doesn't it?
I know, but it's lovely because we don't often say nice things like that about ourselves, do we? So
it's true. Exactly right.
Yeah, and you deserve all the recognition.
Thank you.
So, Sarah, what have you done so far today to support your wellness before we get started?
Well, I've started a new thing fairly recently, Lauren, that I'm actually really proud of. I no longer keep the phone in my bedroom. Now,
Awesome.
My children are grown up. They're not coming back late at night, anything like that. My phone is now in another room, and it just makes such a difference when you wake up. I was in such a bad habit of reaching for the phone straight away. And then whether you're looking at the news or emails or whatever, immediately my mood was down. My energy was set and it was bad. So that is the first thing. I now don't even look at my phone until I've got up. I've had a hot water and lemon. Maybe I've had my shower. I've done 20 minutes of stretching, something like that. I didn't do that stretching this morning because I had to come early into the office, but I did get off the bus at least 5 stops early. I got off at Tottenham Court Road and walked to Holborn. So I got a bit of a walk in. And I'll tell you the third thing I've done for my health today. I've got my water bottle and I've got a mixture here. There's a vitamin C. There's a vitamin D because, like we were just saying, nobody's seen the sun yet. And what else did I put in here? I put in I think a multivitamin or something. So I just pimped up my water for the day, which I've been sipping. I'm a big one for pimping. Yeah, I'm a big one for pimping meals. So those are 3 things that I've done for my wellness today.
Awesome. Yeah, I love that about the phone. I think it's so important. There's also that thing, excuse me, everyone, I've lost my voice, so I'm just getting it back. So that's why I sound croaky today. Of our brain is in alpha for the first 5 minutes after we wake up. And if we can remain in that state and give gratitude and, say some prayers and kind of remain in that alpha state while giving our gratitude, we're not only happier for the day, but we're also more magnetic. So to kind of open your eyes and switch on your phone straight away takes away from all that magic that's available to us.
Right. That's really important, isn't it? It makes such a difference. Absolutely.
So tell us about what it is you do. You're very well recognized in the UK as a nutritionist. Why is that? Who are you?
I have been around a long time. I am a big one for making contacts. I do know a lot of people out there, and I suppose my platform has risen a bit the last couple of years, and that's been deliberate, I suppose, through my work with Zooki. I'm slightly different to a lot of nutritionists. I am horrified at where Western medicine and the whole pharmaceutical industry and everything is. But I was very certain from the beginning that I wanted to work with that industry rather than against it. I'm talking about doctors, not pharmaceuticals particularly, because my whole goal is that instead of a GP surgery, we have something like a health hub where you've got a GP. So when you really need it, you've got to have a life-saving medication straight away. Great. Then I want you to go see the nutritionist because I want you to be off that medication in 6 months' time or whenever it is. And then over here, there's a PT because we're going to teach you how to exercise, whatever state you're in. And there's a physio and here's a counselor and here's a sleep specialist. Everything that you need
the dream.
to get. Wouldn't it be a dream? So I've always worked with doctors, which means that then I have had quite a few contacts with there's a professor of dermatology, Farazan Niami. I work with a lot. We published some papers during lockdown. And then I guess my work with Zooki, I never got involved with any supplement company until a few years ago when they approached me, and I had a look and I really liked them. I loved their energy. I loved their products. And I thought, why not? So I'm doing that 1 or 2 days a week as well. So it's fun. I've got lots of different things going on. I do a lot more talking now. I do a lot of presentation to sort of corporate presentations. I still do see some clients, and I've got a team of nutritionists that work with me as well. So yeah, it's fun. I've reached that point in my career where I want to educate. I want to reach 100 people an hour instead of one, which is a lovely place to be in, actually.
Sounds amazing. Sounds really fun.
Yeah.
So you talk a lot about, I'm massive on gut health. I think gut health is, the most important thing for us to focus on. And you talk a lot about that in relation to skin, which I find very interesting. A lot of people have got, rosacea, eczema, acne. Let's go first into gut health. And then let's go into the connection with gut and skin and gut and brain. Sure. But first, let's just go into kind of simple gut health. What do we need to be doing that we're not doing? Why are all our guts so messed up?
Our guts are, for such an important organ, they are incredibly sensitive. The gut wall is 1 cell thick. That is it. Now, it's incredibly resilient. Your stomach lining replaces itself about every 5 days or so because of all the acid in there. The small intestine, the large intestine, the gut wall can replace itself, but it is incredibly thin. So things can get through, and it starts from when you put things into the mouth. If you don't chew properly, if you don't sit down and get into the rest and digest parasympathetic state, when you take that food in, it's not going to have been already mechanically digested. It gets down, it's still in 2 big pieces, and that's the first problem. The body struggles to actually absorb it properly. If we take things in that are actually toxic, beg your pardon, or maybe we are intolerant to them, it can start messing up the gut wall. Add to that stress. There is a lot of communication between the gut and the brain through the vagus nerve. Now, we thought originally that all the communication was going one way, from the head to the gut. Not so. The gut, actually, 70% of the communication is going the other way, from the gut to the brain. It's constantly telling our brain, oh, I don't feel very well. You've just given me something. I really don't want another hamburger, if you don't mind. There's a lot of communication going on. There are a lot of nerve cells. Do you know there's as many nerve cells in the gut as there are in the brain of a small cat? It's incredible. So there is this communication. And what happens is that means that when we are stressed, that can affect the gut. Because if we're stressed, evolutionarily, that puts us into the fight, flight, or freeze kind of situation. We can't digest at that point. All the blood, all the thought, all the energy has to go elsewhere in the body. So stress stops digestion. Poor food, not enough nutrients to even form the gut wall, not enough nutrients to produce the digestive enzymes and the things that we need. There are sort of physical and all these mental and physical and physiological factors that can affect gut health. So for such an important organ, I think there are so many ways it can go wrong, and we just don't pay enough attention to it. Then on top of that, the actual physical gut, we have got that community of trillions and trillions of microorganisms called the microbiome that, again, we neglect. We only really discovered them not that long ago, and we're learning more and more about how important they are. They are called symbiotic. That means they work with us symbiotically. They actually help our health, or they should do. And if they're messed up, and if you've got this thing called dysbiosis, again, you're not going to absorb things properly. You're not going to produce the vitamins and minerals that you need. So it's very sensitive and incredibly important, and we just don't concentrate on it enough.
Mm-hmm. So if someone was to come to you with gut dysbiosis, candida, SIBO, what would your protocol for them be?
My first thing would be, we take a detailed history, and then I will always try and do a test. And I love Genova GI Effects. I've used it for years. The SIBO test is a breath test, a 24-hour breath test. There's 3 different types of SIBO. There's hydrogen, there's methane, and there's something called hydrogen sulfide. There isn't a good test for the hydrogen sulfide one yet, but I can usually tell by symptoms whether they've got that as well. So I will do a bit of testing. And then we will go in with a protocol, which is usually try to remove all the stressors. The one thing I never do at the beginning is a food intolerance test, because if your gut is compromised, everything's getting through. If you've got that leaky mosquito screen so things can get through, you're going to light up like a Christmas tree. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't mean that those foods are actually a problem for you. And I don't want to cut out foods unnecessarily.
I agree. So, I never used to be able to eat so many foods. You know, when I was healing from arthritis and I was like in the depths of autoimmunity, I couldn't eat any of those foods, you know. And now, and I know that a lot, you know, gluten's inflammatory anyway. We're not meant to, we don't have, you know, the resources in our bodies to digest it. However, I can tolerate gluten fine now, and all the things I never used to be able to tolerate because I'm in a state of homeostasis.
You've worked on healing your gut. So now you can tolerate a bit of gluten going through. It's not going to get through that mesh and harm you. And probably if you ate a lot, it would start harming the gut again, but you can get away with an odd bit. Yeah, absolutely. That's fantastic. Well done, you. It takes people years to get to that state.
It took me years. Took me a long time.
You know, I don't want people giving up. Going onto that restricted diet is hard. It's not sustainable, and it's not actually that healthy when you cut out so many foods. I want people to realize that heal your gut and you will get these back. Maybe not all of them, but you will certainly get a lot of them back. So so food intolerance tests, I never do. I might do that towards the end of a program just to see if there is something that we're missing, or even a histamine test actually to see if that's the problem. So we test, and then then we start the protocol of removing the really aggressive things that are upsetting them. And then we heal the gut, which is basically a really healthy diet. We don't always bring in fermented foods straight away. Depends what they've got. Depends whether they've got SIBO or something. But really nourishing diet plus some supplements to start healing the gut wall. Work on that. And I'll tell you something. Everybody fails at least once or twice. They'll go on a gut program, and then they'll think, well, I'm feeling a lot better. I can have that croissant, or I can have this or that. And there's always a relapse. And usually there's two. Actually, most clients, there's two relapses. And by that time, they're like, okay, now I understand. And you always have to go through that. I don't know whether you were the same on your journey, but you get to a certain stage.
You have to fall off the wagon loads of times before it becomes, for me, I found that, and this is what I teach, you know, through my program as well, is very much about, you know, we have to rewire those habits and those patterns in the brain. I'm a nutritionist. I've never taken on a nutrition client for just nutrition, even as a qualified nutritionist, because someone comes to me and says, I want to lose weight. Can you help me lose weight? First thing I'm saying to them is, let's work on your relationship with your body and with food. Just that kind of in relation to when we're trying to heal, we actually have to get to that point where it becomes part of our lifestyle. We don't see it as a chore anymore. We see it as part of, you know, I want to keep healthy, and making healthy choices feels good to me. But it takes a few times of falling off the wagon before you can get to that.
It really does. And something I'm working on a lot, and I'm doing a lot of talks on these days, is tiny habits, small habits, tiny steps to make big differences, all of that, because it really is just changing. Taking your phone out of the bedroom. It's a tiny thing, but it can lead to big consequences. Having my yoga mat out. There's a lady called Tara Swart. I don't know if you've ever interviewed. Yes, you know, exactly.
Yeah, she's brilliant. Yeah,
she is great. And the way she says about, even if I can't do yoga today, I will lie on my mat. I will lie on my mat for 90 seconds. Yeah, because I just keep it going. And it's these tiny things. And once you've done them, you can get confidence. Your body can cope with it. Yeah. I made that mistake. I don't know how you were when you started out. When I first started out as a nutritionist, oh my goodness, I would give people detailed reports. I had to apologize. To anyone who saw me at the beginning, because I would give them this detailed report. I'd give them 20 things I wanted them to do and take 16 supplements and change your diet. And they couldn't do it. There was absolutely no way they couldn't do it with the best will in the world. So now I see people over 3 or 6 months, and we literally work week by week. And I might say week 1, you know what? I want you to drink a glass of water. I want you to get up and drink a glass of water. And they're like, is that it?
Yeah, it's like, when you to get outside, just go outside every day, stand on the grass. And I'm all for the small, simple, free things, you know.
Completely right. And they get a bit of a win. and they think, okay, I can do this. My body's
Right.
okay. I haven't been too upset. There's nothing too dangerous going on here. We can do another step. Yeah. Love that.
I know. Interrupting an episode with an ad is so annoying. I know. But guys, I want to ask you not to fast forward this and listen for just 2 minutes, because there is a huge element of health optimization and reducing risk of illness that most people don't even realize. You need to be reducing artificial blue light in the home and get targeted red light on your body. The reason is because when the body registers blue light, your brain, based on evolution, assumes it's early daytime. But our brains in 2024 are registering blue light from our light bulbs and our screens at literally all hours, prompting our bodies to produce cortisol, the stress hormone, as well as other hormones we just shouldn't be producing at night. This affects our stress and anxiety levels, and it stops the cells in our bodies being able to repair and regenerate at night. And let me be clear, when our cellular health is compromised, we literally cannot stay healthy. And our amazing partner, Block Blue Light, have created some incredible light bulbs that allow you to switch between settings and have only amber light at night, which is what we kitted our whole house out with when we renovated a few years ago. And if you do need to work after dark, like I have to sometimes, Block Blue Light also have amazing blue light blocking red light glasses, some that fit over your usual glasses, and they can even custom make glasses with your prescription. They also have some of the most powerful and effective red light machines on the market, using photobiomodulation to help keep the mitochondria in your cells healthy, something we cannot be healthy without, as well as helping your body to produce more collagen for bones and joints and to keep skin looking great as you age. It also supports pain and recovery, and red light is said to reduce the risk of Alzheimer's because of how it impacts brain health. We can't control everything happening in this modern world that affects our health, but my personal motto is to mitigate where we can and put in place everything we can for the things we can control, and blue light is one of them. You can get a 10% discount across the range by visiting blockbluelight.co.uk and using the code LV10. Okay, back to the show. So you spoke about you'll put them, people, and specifically focusing on gut dysbiosis and problems like SIBO and Candida, because we're seeing a lot of it. I'm seeing a lot of it in my clients as well.
Yeah.
You spoke about then you'll put them on a specific diet and specific supplements. And I know it's very personalized depending on the individual.
Yes.
But could you give me, people listening are going to be thinking, okay, what is the best diet for gut dysbiosis?
I think reasonably plain. I mean, things like, okay, if they're eating meat and fish, and it is things like chicken soup, bone broth, absolutely fantastic. Some stewed apple. It's I love a kind of warming diet. Chicken soup, apple sauce, that kind of stuff. I mean, Tom O'Brien, Mark Hyman, Tom O'Brien.
Mm-hmm.
Tom O'Brien talks about it a lot. That sort of warming, comforting soups, stews that have been cooked for a long time, some really nice root vegetables, brown rice if they can tolerate it, quinoa. I mean, the grains we might bring in a little bit later. It's really going back to basics. It's some meat, some fish, loads of vegetables, getting back to a very basic diet. Then we might bring some grains in a bit later. Fruit as well. Things like a good Greek yogurt, if they can tolerate that. So we start with fermented foods, but gently. But honestly, it is like an old-fashioned warming diet that just...
I completely agree.
Yeah, goes back to basics, and it is comforting for the mind, the body, and the soul.
Yeah, there's so much nourishment in that. I'm such a fan. I talk to my clients a lot about nourishment of the soul, nourishing the soul.
Yeah.
So something that, I've got a client, for example, who was put on a very, very strict SIBO Candida diet. And she was so miserable, bless her, because she just couldn't eat anything. And if she went out for dinner, it was so strict. And I said, you actually have to nourish your soul. Go and just eat a warm stew, make yourself some thick soups with loads of goodness in it. Like there's just something to be said for eating foods that make you happy.
Yes, I agree.
And I want to talk to you about that actually. So maybe let's go there. We know that so much serotonin is in the gut, right?
Yep.
So how much truth is there to this thing that we've heard recently in recent years, that how we feel when we eat, how we feel about the food and about our bodies and everything we feel about when we're eating actually impacts the nutrition that we get.
I think how we feel about what we're eating, if you're feeling stressed or unhappy about it, or there's a meal and you're like, oh, honestly, look at that. It's just completely beige. There's nothing interesting. There's no taste on this plate, nothing. If your brain, I mean, I am guessing a bit here. I suppose I don't know of any really good research into this, but are you going to produce as many digestive enzymes? Is your body going to be in that parasympathetic state where you do digest properly? Probably not. It's going to be a bit stressed, in which case you're not going to produce the enzymes that you need to get that nourishment. So I think there may well be something in it. I doubt you'd find any good research, but
no.
instinctively, I think that would be true. Actually, I'm sure it would be.
I think instinctively it's true, because I believe everything's energy. So our thoughts have, a vibration, hold a vibrational frequency, and we can put that onto our food as well. So, my son has real bad issues with sensory stuff around food, and getting him to eat healthy things is just not happening. So instead of fighting against it, which I did for years, I now just put my energy into his food and just ask the food to nourish him. And I make sure he's happy when he's eating, and I'm not stressing him out, and that he feels that the food is nourishing him. That's going to do something. It's far more healthy, whether there's research on this or not, than him thinking that what he's eating is going to make him sick because it's not healthy enough, or he's not eating enough vegetables. So I think, and that's why so many cultures pray or give gratitude for food before they eat it. And, so there's so much to be said for the way we feel about our food, and the way how we just feel inside when we're eating.
I love that. I mean, I have always liked cooking. I know it's stressful. I was a big one on meal planning. I had 3 children working and everything. So I would sit down on a Sunday and I always plan out the menu for the week and then get the online shop and whatever. But I always really enjoyed that hour, and I would put my thoughts into my food, because what am I doing? I'm preparing something that is going to nourish my family. We're going to sit down. Hopefully we're going to have a nice dinner. Maybe somebody's in a bad mood that day. That's okay. It's a family. We're imperfect. We're imperfect people that just don't give up on each other. It's a family. But I'm doing something that I can put my love into and actually show them. And, they're all grown up now. My eldest is 30, but I know they look back on their childhood and they're quite proud when mum cooked for us and she fed us well. I know that's there. They know it was love.
Yeah,
totally. They do know that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was raised by a Jewish mother feeder who still is the same with me and my kids. And it's just it's all about love. And my grandmother had 10 children, and I never saw her out the kitchen, but she knew her way of providing love was through food. That's how she knew. That's what love meant to her. It was feeding people. She didn't really know.
And it means it to you. It means it to you. You absorbed that. You've got it. You've still got it.
100%. Yeah. Yeah. So I think there's a lot to be said for how we feel about our food when we're eating it. So you've mentioned the diet. What are the foods that you would tell people to cut? Like, emphatically, these are the foods that you should not be eating if you have any form of gut dysbiosis.
Any form of gut dysbiosis, it's always the ultra processed foods, isn't it? It's the foods like that. And I always take them off gluten and dairy. I mean, the 5 biggest irritants to the gut are gluten, dairy, alcohol, sugar, and caffeine. What is 80% of most people in the UK's diet? Those 5 foods. It's always extraordinary. Every single person that comes to see me, Lauren, every single person will sit down and say, I eat healthy. And I'm like, okay, here we go. And, it'll be, I have toast in the morning, and I might have an egg or something. And then I'll have a sandwich for lunch, and then I'll have pasta for dinner. Okay. Where do we start? So I will take them off gluten, dairy. If they've got a big caffeine coffee habit, that will have to come out too. The same with the sugar, the same with the alcohol. So those are my 5 big ones that I do take them off. But once you've gone through, and I always provide them with loads of recipes, we talk through the choices. What are you going to do for breakfast? Let's get 2 or 3 choices. How do you feel about that? Are you going to make things the night before? Is that okay? Are you going to take your lunch into the office? How are you going to make that work? If you've got the Tupperwares, I get very practical. Same with the dinners. Let's cook 2 ahead. So you've got 2 nights running. Where are you going to order that fish from? I literally visualize, I talk them through. We're going to go to the supermarket. You're going to go past that aisle. So where are you going to go? This kind of stuff. I will get really into the tiny habits, I suppose. So those 5 foods will come out, but you only need to do that for a couple of weeks because people realize within a couple of days, they're feeling better. They're feeling better. So then you've got their agreement. They're like, okay, what she said is actually right. My body's responding. I can do this. And then we may only need to do that really strict phase for a couple of weeks. And around SIBO, again, I do work with people. I will always give them the choice of, do you want to go down the herbal route, the herbal antimicrobials, or do you want to try rifaximin, which is a specific type of antibiotic that only affects the small intestine, does not get down into the large intestine. That will be a much shorter course. I can't guarantee it's going to fully work, but you will get a result. Most people choose the herbals, but I will always give them the option if they want a really quick something or other, more of a quick fix. So we will do that very strict one for a couple of weeks. Then slowly we'll bring things back in. Obviously, if they've got SIBO really badly, we have to go low FODMAP, which is a pain. But again, we don't do it for too long, and I really talk them through it. I give them as much support as I can because that's a tricky one. It's really restricted.
So what supplements are you recommending?
Oh my goodness. Very, very tailored. Depends if there's always a garlic in there. If we're talking SIBO, there's always a garlic. There's always a oregano. We will mix things around. There are some good kind of more joint supplements now, not for joint. I mean, more with a few things in there put together, but there's always some garlic. There's always some oregano. There's a few other herbs. It depends if it's hydrogen or methane, really. Another thing I really like are the clays, the zeolite clays, things like Toxiprevent. Have you used that?
I'm a big fan of zeolite generally. I use detox products for my kids a lot. Yeah.
Yep. I am a big fan of the zeolite products. They can get results very quickly as well. So we will probably throw that in, especially if there's a histamine issue going on. So usually a clay, then some herbals. And then once we are supporting the gut, we'll do that phase first. Can't think of the brand of the supplement at the moment with the big sort of SIBO ones in a, oh gosh, her name will come to me as soon as we finish. But anyway.
That's okay. I'll put them in the show notes.
Yeah. Okay. And then we do work on healing up the gut, and that's talking about L-glutamine, things like aloe vera, collagen is a big one for healing the gut. People always underestimate that. They think of collagen for the skin, but actually it's huge for healing the gut.
And do you go with kind of whole proteins, whey proteins, or do you go with collagens? Because collagen's not actually a whole protein, is it? So
it's not.
Can you explain the difference between collagen and protein powders? Because this is a great topic.
Collagen is the 3 main amino acids in collagen are glycine, proline, and hydroxyproline. Those are the 3 amino acids that make the collagen molecule. And it's a bit like DNA. It's a triple helix rope. And the different types of collagen, you've got about 28 different types of collagen. It depends on how solid they are. So your collagen in your bone is really solid. A collagen in a ligament and tendon, a little more flexible, so on and so forth. There are different collagens that have different jobs all around the body, if you like. Those are the 3 main amino acids. But there are also other branches that will have another 5 amino acids in there. So there are 8 amino acids that can be in collagen in total. It's missing tryptophan. So that's the essential amino acid that is missing from collagen, and that's why it can't be sold as a protein equivalent. However, the important thing about collagen is you need to hydrolyze it down into the peptides, the micro hydrolyzed down peptides that can actually get through the gut wall, can go around the body. And we've shown with numerous clinical trials that they will get to different places around the body and actually be absorbed and used by the cells to form new collagen. They stimulate more collagen and hyaluronic acid growth from the body alongside vitamin C as well. You need that in there. These vegan collagen supplements that are out there, what they're trying to do is take the individual amino acids and put them through that way with some vitamin C and maybe some other herbal things. they're never going to work as well, unfortunately. Collagen
So a marine
has to be.
collagen is not as effective as a bovine collagen.
Well, no, sorry. I meant to, no, it was the vegan collagens that I'm talking about that aren't as effective. Marine, which is exclusively type 1 collagen, can be absolutely the more effective one for skin, because almost all the collagen in skin is type 1. We actually think it's more effective in bones as well. Bovine collagen will have a few more types of collagen in there, but something like 90% of the collagen in the body is type 1, something like that. So marine collagen is actually a little bit better absorbed usually and extremely effective throughout the body. So I always, the thing is with bovine collagen, you've got to be very certain of your source. Mm-hmm. You've got to be very certain of where it's coming from, what part of the animal it's coming from. A lot of bovine collagen will come from offcuts from animals that haven't been treated particularly well. It's another way of making money from those animals. So if I'm telling somebody to take a bovine collagen, I've got to be really sure of the source.
Yeah, I agree.
So I do usually go for a marine collagen because I am sure of what's going on. I know it's going to be bioavailable, and it is by far the most prevalent collagen in the body. So that's good enough for me.
So you spoke about the peptides. So should we be looking for collagen peptides then?
Absolutely. You want them.
Is that the best form?
It's all about size. It's all about size. Size always matters, Lauren. Mm-hmm. Protein powders, the size of the protein molecule will usually be about 70 kilodaltons or more. You cannot absorb something that is 70 kilodaltons. Collagen is a big molecule. So you want to look for something that's been hydrolyzed to under 10 kilodaltons. Then you'll be able to absorb it. So the smaller the peptides are, the better. And you want them still in peptides, because if they begin completely obliterated into the amino acids, that's not good enough. The body's got to take them up, put them back together, all the little things that were in there, as well as collagen. Within the collagen molecule, there will be some other minerals. There's some calcium in there. There's some magnesium. There are other things that get caught up in that triple helix structure and will be in those peptides. So those are the best ones to take rather than the individual amino acids.
So a collagen peptide product is going to be more effective than a whole protein whey powder, protein or something like that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And of course, whey, you've got the dairy issue. So I find a lot of people think they may have cut out dairy, and I was like, "Oh, you're taking a protein powder," and it's a whey one, and they have a problem.
I mean, I didn't used to be a fan of whey at all, especially when I didn't eat dairy. I now have a brand that I really trust. When it comes to whey, I don't have it very often. I tend to stick to collagen peptides actually, and a couple of collagen products that I really like. On the topic of dairy, I get raw organic milk, so that's the only form of dairy, and natural yogurt, like you said, a good Greek yogurt. So that's the dairy I get. I don't eat commercial dairy, and I think I don't know your opinion on that, but for me personally, I think there's a massive difference when telling people don't eat dairy. I still think that there are some health benefits in raw organic milk and natural yogurt, that people can get, some benefits from that. As opposed to, so I always say stay away from commercial dairy as opposed to really say, depending on where they're at in their gut journey.
Well, it's the gut journey, but it's also genetics, because almost all of us are born with the ability to tolerate lactose, to actually digest lactose. We have to. It's in mother's milk. So we can take in the lactose, we produce the lactase that digests it down to the simple sugar, and we're fine. We're away. We can use it. However, from the age of 4, depending on your genetic inheritance, the ability to produce that lactase actually starts to fall away. So you may have been fine with milk when you were age 4, but by the time you're 24 or 34, you're thinking, I had a cappuccino and I feel a bit bloaty. I feel a bit weird. And I'm like, okay, you cannot tolerate the lactose anymore. And you might get away with 1 glass of it, or you might get away with 1 coffee in the morning. But after that, you've used up your lactase and it's too much. So with Greek yogurt, because it's fermented, the lactose has been digested by the wonderful bacteria in the yogurt when it's a proper Greek fermented yogurt. So you're fine. You're away. You've got the whey and the casein left, but you don't have that problem of needing to digest the lactose. It's the same with kefir. The fermentation has already got rid of the lactose, so you're fine with those products. So dairy, again, it's an individual thing, genetically and gut as well.
But do you think maybe that for the person who has the cappuccino that, feels funny afterwards? I mean, my personal take on it is that there is so much rubbish in commercial milk that a lot of it's a bit like alcohol, right? There's so many chemicals in wines that it's not necessarily the alcohol or the wine itself in its natural form that's causing the problem, because people in Italy were drinking red wine every day for their whole lives and living to 100 on their, vineyards. It's the rubbish that our modern kind of processed diets, the modern way of processing food, those products that are being put in the food, to me, those chemicals are causing the problems. And that's a lot of what, I mean, I agree that some people cannot tolerate dairy, but I think that a lot of people's bodies are just not able to break down a lot of these chemicals as well. And, not to mention in dairy cows that aren't organic, that we've got growth hormones, steroids, antibiotics, not to mention what they're eating. So all of that has to be taken into account.
No, I absolutely agree with you. We don't have growth hormones, I don't think, in this country, but I really notice it when I go to the States, which is not very often, and I have a coffee there. I can get away with a coffee with milk in this country. I prefer oat milk anyway, but if I have one with normal milk, it's just not a problem. I go to America, oh my goodness, that homogenized growth hormone, antibiotic full, whatever that rubbish is that they sell as milk, I totally agree with you. I will feel it straight away. And I felt it before I realized what was going on. I was like, why am I feeling so awful? And you're absolutely right. Once it's full of rubbish, your body's going to respond straight away. And I think the more you try and eat organically, the more you feel it when that happens, because we're probably that little bit more sensitive when something like that goes in. Our guts go, no.
So you're definitely actually right. I can tolerate anything now, interestingly, which is very interesting. I think I spent a lot of time cleansing my gut, a lot of time not having, like years not having gluten, dairy, sugar, so I mean, medications that, if ever I have to, there's an emergency, or I mean, it's very rare that I take a pharmaceutical, but if that hits me hard.
It will work
and really
on
affects
you.
me quite badly. But food, not as much. I can't speak for, going to America and having the milk, because I don't think I'd ever have it. So
I'm telling you, don't. Yeah.
But you mentioned oat milk. I mean, there's a problem with that as well now, right? So and it's a bit of a minefield, because we've got all these oils in the oat milks, and I'm at the point where I would prefer, perhaps, if there's, a lot of the cafes near me, they use organic milk. And I wonder if perhaps, and I'm more of a fan of, raw organic, the just organic kind of isn't enough for me. But using organic milk, it might be that that's preferable than the oils.
To a commercially processed oat milk. I completely agree with you. I'm actually trying to get rid of milk altogether in my
It's a bit of a minefield, isn't it? Better to get rid of it.
It is. I've gone from a cappuccino to a macchiato, and it's on its way out, because I do think you're completely right. And if you can't make it at home and you know exactly what's in front of you, it's... Yeah.
But again, something to be said for nourishing the soul. So I'm not someone that, goes out for coffee every day, and I don't drink coffee every day. But if I happen to be on the odd occasion with a friend in a nice, I would never get Starbucks coffee. I would just never drink that rubbish. But if I'm in a nice cafe, sitting with a friend, I'll order a cappuccino and I'll be okay with it. And that energy will be on allowing it to nourish my soul, and hopefully that will encourage it to maybe not nourish my body, but at least not do any harm to my body.
No, I completely agree with you. It comes back to the enjoyment of food, and ultimately food is supposed to be a social thing. I think especially for women as givers, that social aspect, the community, the bonding, everything around the food, going and having a cappuccino with your friend, that's just great on so many levels, isn't it? It's just
balance,
it's
right?
happiness. Balance completely.
So let's talk about the skin. Let's talk about the gut and skin.
Okay, so the skin is the largest organ of detoxification we have. And when we spoke about that leaky gut before, that mosquito screen, when you've got holes in the net and things are getting through into the blood vessels, they will go to different places in different people. And if your sort of weakness is your joints, maybe you get a problem there. If you get headaches, maybe that's where it's going to happen. But for a lot of people, their problem will be the skin. Rosacea in particular is something that's very interesting. There's almost always two things that we underlying. There's a bacteria called Helicobacter pylori, and an overgrowth of that. Everybody has Helicobacter pylori, but if you get an overgrowth of it in the stomach, it can cause ulcers. It can also cause rosacea. And the second thing is the SIBO that we spoke about earlier. People with SIBO will often have rosacea. Basically, things are traveling through the blood vessels and coming out through the skin. So that can be acne. I'm not talking about male teenage acne. That's normally testosterone related. But for women, and especially as you're older, it's the way that the body is detoxifying itself of things that have got through into the blood vessels. That's the simplest way that I can describe it. Eczema, if there isn't an environmental thing like a washing powder or something or a chemical that's gone wrong, it's almost always to do with the gut. Proteins getting through, maybe not enough essential fatty acids, things like that. There's an imbalance somewhere. But there is this terrific link between things getting into the blood system, getting through the capillaries, and coming out through the skin. So that is why there is that link.
Yeah, and I find it fascinating, and that's the reason why it's so important to regularly detox through zeolite detox options, through saunas. My daughter is prone to a bit of eczema on her arms. She doesn't get it anywhere else. She just gets the odd patch on her arms, and we'll do a detox, a zeolite detox.
Great.
And I use ghee. I rub ghee or beef tallow. I'm a big fan of beef tallow at the moment, and we also use the Healy. I don't know if you've heard of the Healy. That was when it got really bad. We use it as a quantum frequency device. That really helped. But on the times where it's just kind of the odd patch that comes up, we just kind of increase the ghee or the beef tallow and do a little detox, and it's done. We're detoxing, like you say, through the skin. It's just kind of our body's telling us what's in there that needs to come out. So it's just essentially our body's saying, hey, there's too much in here. You need to get it out.
That's right. I mean, once it's gone through, unless it's going to come out, if you're going to excrete it the normal way, once it's got into the blood system, it has to come out somewhere. So that's what's going to happen. I had a very stressful time recently. We moved house 3 times in the last sort of 18 months, and various other, and my father passed away in January and whatever. It was a stressful time, and I started getting little patches of eczema around here. Never had them before in my life. And I was like, oh my goodness, I have to double down now, internally, externally, absolutely everything, because look at my body. It's showing me, it's telling me things are wrong.
But you kind of hit the nail on the head with stress as well, because people are always looking for kind of the external or the physical thing, what food can I cut? But stress is going to impact our skin and our gut hugely.
More and more as we age as well. I think for women, once you get through those menopausal years, everything, the tables are completely rearranged. I'm not going to say tables are turned, the tables are rearranged, because the cortisol, the estrogen before that was going down that route all nicely into your hormonal system, it's going to leave you now. It's going to go into the cortisol system, and you're going to have so much more of a reaction to any stress. We really have to nourish ourselves that much harder from perimenopause onwards. Stress will have a much bigger effect.
And so are there specific supplements that you would give for people with rosacea, for example? Because you mentioned a very specific bacteria. Is there a specific protocol?
Well, Helicobacter pylori, actually, we're back to the zeolites. They can work really well for that. They can clear it out. It takes a bit of time, might take a few goes, but they will definitely work. They're my number one, actually, for H. pylori. But again, I can send a list afterwards if you want to put it out there. It is a personalized thing, though, and I wouldn't want people just to rush out and
I agree. But it's good to hear that the detox, the zeolites are kind of your way forward.
Yeah, they're great.
I'd love to talk about the gut-brain axis, and how our guts are affecting our brains.
What we eat, and I really have still never understood why this is, why people don't associate mental health with physical health and what we're putting into our stomachs. You need over 50 different nutrients to have a happy thought. Our neurons are just chemical, like electrical wires with calcium, magnesium, and potassium and sodium firing the channels, making the thoughts happen. Most of us have experienced a time in our life when we haven't maybe eaten well. Perhaps it was exam time, stressful time, working too hard, whatever. We're relying on the takeouts and we're not nourishing ourselves properly. And you end up just feeling down. So the number one link is the nutrients that you're actually getting in. Never forget the nutrient that we get from sunlight. That's the vitamin D. That is just as important as anything else we put into our body, and it's just as important for the brain. So there is a barrage. There are a lot of nutrients that we need for brain health. I mentioned the omega-3 fats already. They are absolutely crucial. And I'm not sure evolutionarily. I always like to think about evolutionarily where we came from. I guess when we came out of the water, at some point we lived along the shore or something. And the fish and those omega-3 fatty acids became incredibly important to our brain development. And we often don't get enough now. Then the next thing is when the gut is unhappy. I spoke about the vagus nerve earlier. When the gut is unhappy, the brain will know about it because there is this transmission. There is this communication going on between the two. So if you are constipated, you feel a bit rubbish. You can't focus. If you haven't had a good night's sleep, you're not going to digest as well. It's going to change what foods you might choose. There's a lot of interaction between the two. So, and then the third thing is the actual microorganisms, again, that microbiome that are in the gut. If you've got dysbiosis, if they are not happy, that is going to be communicated to the brain and affect your health as well. So it's getting the nutrients, it's the actual gut wall, making sure that is healthy, and the microbiome, all of them will affect the brain health. But I suppose the nutrients is the most important one, making sure you've got all the nutrients you need to really fire up properly. And also relax, it's not all about focus and concentration. You've got to relax as well. And getting good sleep. Oh, I could go on for ages. Getting good sleep to allowing that lymphatic system to actually clear out the toxins and the waste as you sleep. That's another really important thing.
So what are your top brain foods?
Oh, my top brain foods would be omega-3 fatty acids, definitely, which is nuts, seeds, fish. Then I want magnesium in there. So that's lots of dark green leafy veg. And once you get the dark green leafy veg in, there are so many important nutrients in there as well. And then I would say making sure you've got enough protein, actually. Whatever source it's coming from, I think protein is definitely important to give the amino acids to just fire everything up. I suppose so those are my top three, really. I'm trying to think if I missed anything. No, that would be my top three.
Yeah, awesome. So let's talk about your work at Zooki and kind of what made you want to work with this type of supplementation?
I never joined with a supplement company because, don't get me wrong, there have been supplement companies out there that I absolutely love, usually small ones that focus on one particular ingredient and do it really, really well. I always love it when you find something like that and they're obsessed. But when I met Zooki, I loved their energy and I loved the twin pillars that they were thinking about, which was one, we want to produce the best, the most effective supplements on the market, but we want to make them a pleasure to take. Because you know what it's like as a nutritionist, you ask your clients to take supplements and after a few weeks, they're like, oh, I can't be bothered. It's a capsule or it tastes rubbish. I mean, fish oils, if we go back to fish oils, all those nasty, enormous capsules that you had to swallow and you're burping up fish for the rest of the day. And it's just an unpleasant experience, really. So when I met Zooki, they had a few of these liquid sachets. And the most important thing to me at that point was they tasted amazing. Actually, when I first met them, it was very sweet. They gave me 2 boxes of these supplements. And I was like, oh, I'm not going to feel any different. I know what I'm doing. I feel great. I'm not going to feel any different. So I gave them to a couple of clients. Actually, I said, here, please try these. It was a vitamin C and I think it was a vitamin D. So it's something quite simple. They loved them. They absolutely loved them. So I tried the taste myself and I thought, you know what, actually, this is quite fun. And what happened was my family started asking them as well. They were like, Mum, have you got any of their vitamin Ds? Because they actually really liked the taste. My
kids also love them.
There you go. And they were feeling different. They were like, I just feel like a little bit better. I feel, that vitamin C, instead of having a coffee 3:00 in the afternoon, I'm going to have one of their vitamin Cs. So it was the marriage of really top-notch liposomal supplements with the experience and the taste. And then couple that with the terrific energy. They're all half my age. They're all absolutely fantastic 20 somethings, maybe 30-year-olds, really a lot of energy, very hard workers. And I thought, what's not to love? I would like to be involved with this. So that was a couple of years ago, and we're going from strength to strength.
Yeah, it's a fantastic company. I've worked with them for a few years as well. So, question for you. What I love about what I do is that I can interview two incredible people, and they will have two completely opposing views. And you know, and that's great because, you know, there is so much information, and my take on that is always to use our intuition to discern, you know, what's best for us. But the question I'm going to ask you based on that is, I'm a fan of the work of Morley Robbins and the root cause protocol. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's very much about mineral balance through whole foods and through whole food vitamin C specifically. And minerals, you know, retinol, getting enough retinol, getting enough copper, magnesium, etc., adrenal cocktails and all that. And their ethos is that, or they believe that taking too much liposomal supplementation can affect copper stores. So I just wonder, from kind of Zooki's perspective, is if there's any opinion on that.
Got to be honest, we haven't looked at. I mean, we'd have to take a sample of people, we'd have to measure it properly, and we haven't done that. We haven't looked at copper stores. I mean, I know obviously iron, we're very cautious with our iron supplement. We advise people to get tested all the time. I mean, ideally, I would look at everybody's ferritin levels. I would look at what inflammation they have, what's going on with their C-reactive protein, where's their bacteria levels. I would love to do that screen. But on the other hand, we can't not have an iron supplement because it is the most deficient nutrient in the entire world. So it's great that we've got one, and it's got some vitamin C in there. It's a really powerful liposomal one, but we're very cautious when we advise it. Obviously, that can interfere with copper. Magnesium, I think you'd have to get to some really consistent high levels to really mess with the copper. I'd be more worried about an intravenous infusion, to be honest. They definitely worry me. I don't like unopposed intravenous single nutrients at all. Things like vitamin D, there's so much evidence now that vitamin D unopposed, without vitamin K, without the boron, without the things, without the magnesium and things in there, is not going to get where it should do, and it can actually end up sort of harming you. It's the same with calcium, all these things. So I hear what you're saying on the unopposed single nutrients. We are getting to the stage where we're going to be able to combine things. It's been a real chore actually combining the nutrients together and then making them liposomal is hard work, but we are getting there. So watch this space on that one. But we have a fantastic customer service team backed up with a lot of education where we can speak to people. We've spoken to people about maybe taking too much collagen, how much is enough, whatever, you know, is there likely to be a problem? They're all very well versed on being a little bit cautious, because people do get excited when they get the results at the beginning. Obviously, with the water soluble ones, things like vitamin C, just not a problem. You feel that energy. I love it for taking on planes, traveling, tube, whatever. I want my vitamin C. That is my sort of immune system guarantee. Absolutely love that one. The fat soluble ones, like the vitamin D and so on, we're going to be a little bit more cautious, but that's easily measured. Magnesium is a slightly trickier one because the magnesium levels in the plasma are kept pretty constant. So you want to look at red blood cell magnesium, and that's a harder test to do. But I think people get such good results straight away. I would love them to have a full nutrient screen. I'd love all the customers to come in once a year and do a
it'd be great, wouldn't it?
Wouldn't it be incredible to be able to offer that and then actually personalize their prescription with their own mix? I mean, my goodness, that's a goal for 10 years' time, isn't it? I think the iron, we are as responsible as we can be around that. And that would be my big worry for any copper link.
Yeah, I personally don't supplement iron. I think a lot of our iron problems are due to copper as well. But how I use Zooki is I'm a big fan of whole food vitamin C. I have whole food vitamin C every day. And for me, the liposomal vitamins are for when I'm under the weather and I need a boost. And that's how I personally use it, because I know I have to be really careful with my mineral balance, because I can tend to go off just based on having a history of autoimmunity, I know that my magnesium and copper stores can really drop. And so I tend to use liposomal for, like now, for instance, when I've been ill last week, give it to my kids when they're ill, and then we use whole food C. And so that's kind of my balance with it, because I think it's great for that boost when you really need that boost of vitamin C or, collagen or whatever it might be. So I think that it absolutely has its place, and I'm a massive fan of the company, and we've got a discount code for anyone listening that wants to get hold of some Zooki, which is Lauren20, and I'll pop that in the show notes as well. So I think that's it in terms of what we were going to speak about. So let's go over to our lovely rapid fire round, which our audience love, which is called All About You. Okay, so the first one is always the same, and it's wellness is.
Wellness is waking up and feeling that your body is ready to take on whatever's going to be thrown at it.
Awesome. I love that. One thing that everybody should be doing for their gut health.
Drinking water. I think being dehydrated, seriously, being dehydrated just stops everything moving through. The minute you get constipated, you're in trouble. So honestly, drinking water, it's free. It's very simple. That's the first thing you should be doing.
Perfect. A common misconception about health that you wish more people got right.
I think people don't make the association between putting things in their mouth and putting things in the rest of the body. When you eat something, when you eat or drink something, it's not just going in your mouth. It's going into your brain to fuel your thoughts. It's going into your heart to keep it beating. It's going into your blood cells to keep it flowing around the body. This misconception that you can just eat something and get away with it. Everything. If you and I were here in 365 days, Lauren, 95% of our body will be completely new. And the only way we get those new cells is through what we eat and drink. So the misconception that you can treat your body like a rubbish tip and get away with it is just heartbreaking to me.
Yeah, I agree. Last one's a bit of a fun one. What's the most difficult part about working with A-list celebrities?
I think their retinue. Actually, usually the A-list celebrities that I've worked with have been absolutely lovely. They are extremely hardworking. That's why they're successful. They want to know what's going to make them tick and perform to the best of their ability, whether that's to look better, whether that's to perform better, whatever it is. But it's the people that work with them that can be real pains in the butt. So yeah, I would say the people that work with them are the hardest part about celebrities.
That's interesting. I didn't anticipate that.
Good.
Sarah, thank you so much. I think you've given us so much, so many nuggets of wisdom and information for my audience that I'm sure they're going to take loads away from. So thank you.
My pleasure, Lauren. It's been lovely to meet you, actually. It's been great. Thank you. Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of Reconditioned. I am honestly so grateful to each and every person that tunes in. Thank you also for taking responsibility for your own well-being. You should know that just by choosing to listen to podcasts like this that further your well-being, you're moving more deeply into abundance consciousness. Now, don't forget, I have a bunch of free resources over at laurenvakneen.co.uk, as well as every recommendation you could ever need in regards to your well-being on the LV Recommends page, all categorized for your ease. Thank you also to our sponsors. These episodes would not be possible without them, so make sure to check them out and get some pretty awesome discounts on the show notes. And of course, make sure you're subscribed to the podcast so that you can get updated each time a new one is released. Thank you. I appreciate you.